Yeah, I'm clicking on what I usually do.
Okay.
Here, something's happening. Something's happening. Waiting for people to join this video call.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's what it says on my thing too.
Really?
Yeah. Share permanent link, bookmark, come back. This is doing it. That's what it says. Waiting for people to join this video call. Maybe I'm joining the old one. Should I hang up this one and look in the other one?
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Something. It's ringing.
Yeah, I just sent that to you. So answer that one.
Okay, here it is. Here it is. Here we go. Here we go. Why do you have to click these boxes?
Yes.
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 Victory.
Still don't have a camera.
You son of a.
Hey, you changed locations.
Yeah, I did.
That's your
Just for
Murphy
today.
bed. Is that your Murphy bed?
Yeah, it's pulled out though.
Woo!
Woo!
Murphy bed.
Kyle and Kelsey are coming tonight with their kiddos, so they get to
Really?
test it out. Yeah.
What? You get them?
Yeah, they're speaking at our fall retreat.
You jerk.
Sorry, man.
I called you a geek and a jerk.
That's what that was. I was wondering what that was.
I was thinking geek, but then it came out jerk.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that happens.
Uh-huh. You have a hatchet on your head.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
That's cool. I like it.
I got
Looks like
I got a bunch of birthday money, so I went to Ross and got a hat.
That's the end of that story.
That's pretty much it. Yeah,
Why-
I like
why-
the colors and it fit my head pretty good, so that's why I
Yeah.
got it. I don't really
Yeah.
care about the hatchet so much.
I think I like it.
I do too. Like I can't, I've only had it for like a day, so I'm not totally sold on it yet. But
Yeah. You're a hats guy.
I do like hats.
I like hats too.
I like wearing hats. I think it's because I don't love my hair.
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't love
Yeah.
my hair either.
I don't hate my hair, but I don't like. It's not like, ooh, look at my hair. You know what I mean? So I'm happy to wear a hat.
Yeah. And I'd rather wear a hat than condition, you know?
Yeah, that's almost 100% true. That's why I'd rather wear a t-shirt than work out.
Like I got to say, it totally ruined my week when we called with Bianca and the power went out. It was totally
Oh,
crazy.
I was so bummed.
Me too. It was a downward spiral.
Yeah, for those of you listening that don't know that story, we like 2 weeks ago we were set to record and we had a guest with us, Bianca, and we got 9 minutes into it. It was amazing. It was a really good 9 minutes. Probably the best 9 minutes we ever recorded. And then then the power went out.
It'd be like the lost Dylan tapes.
Yeah.
You know? People will be hunting for it.
Yeah, I don't know that that's accurate, but I like to imagine that that's the case.
Yeah, that's true.
But that was a lot of fun. We need to get her back on. So
Yeah.
I was thinking we might need to get her to just host it every week.
How does she do that? Well, yeah, you have to check. You have to technologically call her and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's Google Hangouts. Just because it took us a half an hour to get you logged in doesn't mean it would take her a half an hour to get logged in.
I'm still trying to set up my typewriter here.
Yeah, and I can't see any of that because you still don't have a camera. That is pretty ridiculous that you don't have a
Yeah.
camera at this stage
It
of the
is.
game.
Maybe while we're just recording this background feed, we should check in with dude. It's crazy that you kind of called it. He softened his view on immigration, Trump,
Oh, yeah.
but then he hardened it again. But
Yep.
he's still. You could see the wheels turning, trying to make him seem less crazy.
Yeah, which won't take very much, right?
Yeah,
When you assume he's a lunatic, he doesn't have to do very much to seem not as crazy.
yeah. And then all it takes is one little misstep, like calling the American public a bunch of
Deplorables.
deplorables, and he's back in it. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, that and passing out at a
Yeah.
at a
I saw
9/11 rally.
On somebody's Facebook, it was like wasn't good. It wasn't a good weekend for the Giants or Grandma Hillary. That was one of my buddy's Facebook statuses.
That's funny.
Uh,
I
that
wish
made
I was excited about any of them so that I could get really excited about the developments. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because I follow the developments, but none of them are good. Like it doesn't matter. Like I love like I thoroughly do not enjoy Hillary or Trump. So whenever any of like when Trump starts to gain ground, I'm like, yeah, I called. Oh man.
It's funny. Yeah. Going back to the Grandma Hillary. Did I ever tell you how Charles Barkley would call Tim Duncan Old Man Riverwalk?
Yeah.
I think that's
That's the best nickname for him. Yeah.
Of all time, of anybody. I think I would love that name if I was from. Yeah. Actually, I am from San Antonio. I was born in San Antonio, but
I always forget that.
Yeah. But yeah. Anywho, I just love that.
Old Man Riverwalk.
I could mention that every day, and it would bring me joy every day.
Every day.
Every night.
You just reminded me of something else.
On the telephone. That's an 80s classic. I think it was Weird Science.
Yeah, I don't even know where it's from. I just do it because you do it.
It's from Weird Science.
Yeah.
It's from Michael Hall, that Anthony Michael Hall guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
His character, after they make the girl, or maybe it's right before, they're at the bar, the African American bar, and they're getting wasted and they're kids.
Yeah.
I called her every night on the telephone, but there's cussing in the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's funnier with the cussing, but it's still pretty funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
You were saying something.
I don't remember. Oh, I do remember. I read a tweet recently that was, it's weird that each party nominated the only person in America who could possibly lose to the other person.
That's really funny.
It was like spot on. Like, man,
it's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, the only person who could possibly lose to Hillary is Trump.
I think that's true.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
All right, we ready to start? There's enough background stuff?
I think we probably got something there we can pull.
Yeah. Well, this is Five Best with Greg and Jason. I'm Jason. I'm a pastor out in Muskegon, Michigan, out in rural Michigan, and Greg is a pastor down in San Antonio, Texas. We were friends in the late 2000s. Just kidding, the early 2000s. I don't know when we were friends, but we were friends, and we've just continued our friendship on to now. We're apart by miles, but we like to check in with one another with just going over the 5 best things that we've witnessed or that we've experienced over the last week. And this one that's been a couple weeks. So
yeah, that's right.
There's probably about 20 or 30 things that we'd like to talk about, but we'll just narrow those down and go for it. And which one is, do I start this time or do you start this time?
Yeah, you start this time because we've stopped and started a few different times. But as you get ready to start, if you enjoy this podcast at all, please remember to subscribe to it and then also rate it. It makes it easier for other folks to find it on iTunes or on whatever device you listen on. Okay.
And I know my little brother is really fired up to hearing this now, so that's cool. He was on it a little while ago.
He was on it. He was great. That was funny.
And so I'm starting. Okay, I'll start. I think I'll start with
we should also say that there's no particular order to these 5 best.
Yeah,
some people think that we're doing 5 best and we're putting them in the order we care about them, but that's not true.
Yeah, that isn't true. I guess I'll start with U.S. Open. I don't know if you caught it in the U.S. Open, but it's something about the U.S. Open. I usually don't end up watching tennis except for the U.S. Open every year and it gets me fired up because I grew up. My dad is really into tennis and was almost pro. Like he played in some pretty serious tournaments and stuff. He played for Mizzou and he played for the Air Force. And so he was really, really good. So he kind of taught me how to play tennis, and I'm okay, I'm an okay tennis player. But every year around this time, it's early September, late August or whatever, whenever the U.S. Open always happens.
Yeah, usually around Labor Day or something, right?
It gets me fired up to play tennis, and for some reason I'm hooked into the U.S. Open. Almost every year I end up watching it just to see. And this year it was good. It was good. It didn't disappoint. I really liked the women's finals and the men's finals, so it was cool.
That's awesome. I don't love tennis either. I get sucked in over like 4th of July week at Wimbledon.
Oh, okay.
because my in-laws all play tennis and my brother-in-law loves tennis, and so like, and then it's on super early in the morning when you're like up wrangling kids,
Yeah.
and so then it's like, oh, let's just throw on Wimbledon. So so I get sucked in then. But the U.S. Open, sometimes it does it for me. I love watching Americans win in the U.S. Open. So that's my
Yeah.
like so when the Americans don't win, I'm not nearly as excited about it. I also, do you remember like it was before we knew each other, but in the like the really early 2000s, late 90s, it was like the U.S. Open was the place where guys would kind of come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like Andre Agassi had a really deep run one year when everybody thought he was basically dead.
Yeah.
Jimmy Connors had this amazing run when everybody thought he was basically dead. Andy Roddick had this crazy run. Like, it was just, that was the U.S. Open was that tournament where you just have some crazy seed, usually an American guy who just would get really hot and the crowd would go crazy. And I always liked that part.
Yeah. And that it was interesting as I've gotten older to see who I root for. You know what I mean? I used to root for the up and coming and like the guy coming out of nowhere. Now I find myself rooting for the old guy that or the old person that's just trying to. I wanted Nadal to take the whole thing again.
Yeah, that'd have been cool.
Yeah, he was. But I like the kid that came up and beat BJ. I don't know if you saw the finals, but he was kind of an out of nowhere guy, but not from America, you know. And
Right.
I like single. I love the single-handed backhand. Because that's how I never played with the double-handed backhand, the two-handed backhand. You know, like whatever. So he's got the one-hand backhand is. So he plays tennis like myself. So I ended up rooting for him.
Yeah, that seems right. That sounds like us.
The wrong girl won though. I wanted the up-and-coming girl to win too. I was for the up and comers once all the old people that I knew were out.
Right. I'm with you on that.
That's the end of the story.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's also funny, like, it's weird how we kind of rally back to things that our parents really cared about.
Yeah, I think that's more my first one.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks for teasing it out and actually getting around to what I was talking about. But that's good. That was But I just remember some of my earliest memories probably of my dad coming home from like a tennis tournament and having his, tennis uniform on or whatever, and just hanging out, rocking in a chair, holding me in his lap, listening to music.
Super short shorts, yeah.
Yeah, super short shorts. My dad was crazy because he would always drink Coke.
Really?
He would have a can of Coke and he'd play tennis drinking Coke. It's crazy.
I like that. Now we're on something I could be in my 5 best. That's awesome, man. I love that.
Yeah, he's pretty tough.
That's pretty cool.
He's doing any cool memories. But yeah, it is weird that we come back to what we like. I think that's almost what I like about it is the nostalgia. Just to bring back to a little kid that liked life,
like,
that was
get totally
about stuff.
That can get sort of co-opted by movies and things like that and make it like this commodity almost of this like sentimentality around sports. But there is a legitimate like bonding element that happens in the way our culture takes in sports and events. And it wouldn't have to be a sport necessarily. Like sometimes you get really excited about science because of your dad, but it's but it is interesting. Like I think it just happens naturally and easily at sports. We had this isn't one of my 5 best, but the soccer team we root for in English Premier League, Tottenham Hotspurs, played in the Champions League yesterday, and they lost. And it was just one of those brutal losses where you just outplay the other team and you still end up losing anyway.
Oh,
and my son sent me a text that just said, "I hate that we root for Tottenham sometimes." And I said, I know. And that's how I used to feel my whole life growing up as a Packer fan. So
yeah. The Packers are going to do it.
Though. Times can change, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's saying Packers aren't going to lose, man.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But we are going to be really good.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, well, I'm going to jump into my number 1, Jason.
Okay.
My number 1, I think I may have even had this once a while ago too, but I'm fascinated by and love the show Running Wild with Bear Grylls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this one, it's the one where he gets like a celebrity, and he and just the celebrity go into the woods, and so it's like this one-on-one thing, and they're doing this like adventure thing over the course of a weekend, and it's amazing. Like, it's to me the most like pastoral show on TV. I'm shocked by how like. One, he puts them in positions that they're kind of uncomfortable with and afraid of and whatever, but I'm just amazed at how celebrities respond to him and like what he can kind of get out of them questions wise, like what he can ask them. Like it's the best model for like, if you wanted to argue that all churches or camps or whatever should have these adventure programs, it's really the only argument for doing that at all. But it's pretty amazing.
I've recorded a bunch and I haven't watched any, but I'll watch them with because I always look for stuff to watch with Zeke.
Yeah. This is one of those for sure.
I loved when he would take celebrities out. Do you see any of those?
That's what this is.
Oh, okay, good. I'm gonna watch some more of them then.
As well, you should.
As well, the one with Will Ferrell was my favorite.
Yeah, back in the day, that one was really funny. That was before he did this show.
Do I drink? Okay.
So that was
okay.
Was Man vs. Wild way back in the day, and I think Will Ferrell started the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's right.
He's like, "Hey, I want to go with Bear Grylls," and so they talked him into it, and they did it. And once he did that, then he later came up with this show. But it's essentially that. But this year he's got like Shaq and Nick Jonas and like a bunch of famous people again, and it's just like it's hilarious. Like it's funny the way different people interact with him right up front. Like some people think of it as a competition immediately. Like
yeah.
I've got to outdo Bear Grylls, and those people always lose. But for Bear Grylls, it's never a competition. It's just this funny, like he beats them all if it was a competition, right? But he's not playing a game for him. He's just kind of let's just have fun and survive, and then I'll ask you fun questions along the way.
Yeah.
But it's the best interviews on TV, I think. Like I know you love Colbert's interview style.
Yeah.
Bear Grylls does really interesting interviews when they're in the middle of nowhere and sitting out looking over a ravine or whatever. It's pretty cool.
And it makes a lot more sense, because you get to, probably it's a tad closer to reality,
That's what it feels like. Whether or not it's true, I don't know, but it definitely feels that way.
I think that is true. Because he did the same thing with, so now this is kind of a remake because then wasn't he doing Man vs. Wild, and that Will Ferrell he did Man vs. Wild with celebrities.
Yeah, but he never really did it. It was just like Will Ferrell and one other guy eventually jumped in and did it with him.
Yeah, and I think it was that other guy it was the best I've ever seen. It was that one, I forget his name, but he's from the movie October Sky.
That's where you remember that guy from?
Yeah, what's that guy? That's a famous guy.
He is a famous guy.
But that was a really good interview too. That's what made me think that
it's Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, that's him. That's the guy.
Oh my gosh, dude!
That was I know, but that was my little brother's. My little brother, Andrew. That was his first live action movie I took him to in the theater. It's just a weird random truth.
Yeah,
I love that movie. Anywho, my number two
movie.
All right, here I'll go to my two.
Yeah.
Maybe let's do it this way. It's Jack White started right when he started his solo career. Right, actually, it was right when White Stripes were about to end. He started his fan club called The Vault, and you join his record. And I think that my number one is the fact that he has a fan club still. Like you join and you pay like $60 every 3 months or something like that.
What?
And they make records that are just for the fan club. Like if you're not they don't make a record for you unless you've paid this, $60 or whatever. And they make all kinds of like books and like patches and like these weird pins and stuff like that. It's like kind of a throwback, the old fan clubs of old, I don't know. But
the old fan clubs of old.
But it was but this latest one he just it's better than all of his other ones, I think, combined. Because he got Pearl Jam to play at his Third Man record shop in Nashville, and so they made a record of the live performance of Pearl Jam, and so at their live performance, Pearl Jam did the song "Let Me Sleep," and that's because Pearl Jam started when they first in 1991. When they came out the album 10, they started their fan club, and you could be a member. And they would every Christmas since that first year, they've sent out a 7-inch, like a one song, like a 45. And their first song was "Let Me Sleep." It's one of my top 5 Pearl Jam songs. So it's just, I don't know, it came full circle, blew my mind. It's by far my favorite record. When it came in the mail, it's just like, holy cow. Like I just like, it's Pearl Jam still rocking it 20 years later, 30 years later. I don't know how long they've been around.
It's been a little while, yeah.
It's been a little while. And they throw out their and it's one of my favorite songs. It's "Let Me Sleep, It's Christmas Time." It's really good track. But so I don't know what my 2 is. Maybe it's that Jack White has a record club, like has a whatever club, like a fan club. Maybe it's that he has the foresight to put Pearl Jam out, which is my heart love language,
right?
And it's a bummer because it came the day after Bianca left, and Pearl Jam.
Shoot, I love that.
I know. It was just like, dude, come on.
Hey, so one of the things that's fascinating to me about that is I do love creative people having space to do creative things. Like we've talked about that before, especially with Jack White. Yeah. And some of the crazy weather balloon stuff he's doing or whatever. Yeah. But I'm fascinated by that part. Like it seems like, because in my head, those kinds of shows that Pearl Jam did would have happened in the past. Yeah. But we wouldn't have really good recordings of them, and we certainly wouldn't be able to put them on records and send them out to folks. Yeah. But it's like, it seems like, and this is a totally maybe a side tangent, I don't know. It seems like that should be in some ways the roles of the church. And historically has been to be the people who like free up creatives to be creative. Yeah. Right. So you sponsor artists or patrons or whatever. And so anyway, I don't know, when I hear that and I hear how excited you get about what Jack White's doing and all that, one of the things that's always amazing to me is like, this is just one of the most creative dudes on the planet. Yeah. And for $60 every 3 months, you help him be creative and kind of give him the space to be creative that way. And it's pretty cool. Like that's always really, really kind of cool and impressive and fun. Yeah. I don't know. I love that stuff. I do too. And even when I don't really care, because I don't love Pearl Jam or Jack White, but it's cool to hear that people are doing things like that, Yeah. Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. And how could we as a church foster that again, because, I think on previous generations, there are things like the Continental Singers and people that toured and sang. Did you guys ever host in your small town? Did you ever host in your small town the Continental Singers? No, but we had some, like the Maranatha Choir and that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it was totally their language and totally it's kind of repulsive to us, But it doesn't really match us. But still, there was a space for it, how could we do that with? It doesn't seem like that's possible as a church, especially on the music side, I don't know, right. How can I open up my church to, your Greg Gilbertson or your Greg, whatever, all the Gregs, that play music. I don't know. It's like everybody. That ought to be the new thing. Let's create spaces for Gregs. That's awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, my number 2, I'm no longer a Baptist minister, Jason. What? Yeah, I'm done now.
Why? What happened?
Well, no, I was an interim pastor at Covenant Baptist Church, which is this awesome little church just a little bit north of where I live, and I'm all done now. So they brought in their new person. They got a really, I think somebody's gonna be a really awesome pastor, a lady named Natalie Webb, and she's gonna do a really good job there. So that's fun. But so my almost year there is done, but it was cool. Like they threw me an awesome potluck at the end and gave me a bunch of pies. And then
because that's your heart language, man. You
that
love pie.
that's my Pearl Jam. So which sounds like a kind of pie, right?
It's because it's it was his grandma's jelly, Pearl Jam.
Oh, there you go. See?
Yeah.
That was close.
Yeah.
And then they gave me a Bacon of the Month Club subscription, so that's kind of fun too. So but
that's not a real thing, is it?
It is a real thing. I'm excited to find out what it is too. I haven't had any of the bacon yet, but it's coming.
Is San Antonio like still third on the like obese cities?
Maybe higher. I'm doing my part though, Jason. Third is the worst. You got to move up.
If you ain't first, you're last.
That's okay. Right. Why even bother trying?
Yeah.
So, but in the course that, like, you and I have talked a lot about my time at Covenant throughout this podcast, throughout this last year, and it's always like there's something always sad about ending somewhere.
Yeah.
But then also like being able to hand off something like that is kind of a cool thing too. And I've never really had that experience before, so this has been kind of fun to watch the transition and how the people get excited about what's coming next, and also still want to try to honor what we've already had. And they do a really good job of that at Covenant. And that's been fun to sort of be kind of guided through that and to watch that happen and to be part of that. I've really, really enjoyed that piece, and it's allowed me to really enjoy the transition in ways I don't know if I would have otherwise. And so I don't know. So I've really appreciated that. That's really neat. That's really cool. And I'm sure God used you mightily and like taught through you and taught you stuff. But it's similar to me. I'm not handing off, but I had it handed to me, and I'd never seen it done well until I've started working at McGrath. The interim guy, he's still around. He's about 45 minutes to an hour away, and he's still like he stepped in when I took vacation. He did something. It's it's weird because in the PCUSA, for some reason, I haven't seen it done well. That's a weird thing. I hadn't really either. Now that you're pointing that out, it was more bickery and like like a little politicky, and it was I think it was because so that kind of set me up for like I was waiting for the shoe for that, right? I was waiting for it to like just be played, but it was really neat to just where I was thinking I was gonna. I thought so. Whoa, Siri's starting to talk to me for some reason. What's going on? Oh boy, I don't know. Yeah, there's something like so. One of the takeaways for me in my entire time is there's something really amazing about a church that's willing to and is gifted at caring for their pastors or caring for their leaders. Yeah, and that's and I think you experienced that some too. And it's just that's such a valuable thing, and it's such an important piece of doing our jobs well. Yeah, and that's been really cool, and it's also it occurred to me like it's one of the things that's missing in college ministry largely is by and large college students don't know how to do that. Yeah, and it's not, and they shouldn't, right? Like it's something you learn as you get older, and so, but when college students do make an effort to do that, it's really cool and it means a ton. Yeah, I had my birthday on Saturday, and so a bunch of the one of our worship leaders at the bridge last night brought a cake and all that. And it was like, we hadn't talked ahead of time about it or anything. And so it was just entirely on him to do, but it was a way of trying to care for me and for one of our other leaders. And that was really cool. Like that was, so it is cool. And it's how you learn that stuff, but it's when you have a whole church that's been good at it and it's part of their history, it just changes that dynamic.
That's
But-
cool.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I really liked it. My number 3, I'll do. I don't know if you caught it, but roasts. Like it started with.
Oh man,
It started with that one guy. What's his name?
Jeff Ross.
Yeah, but Jeff Ross. They just roasted somebody famous. Rob Lowe.
Oh,
that's
Rob
who-
Lowe. Yeah.
Yeah, they roasted Rob Lowe, and then Jeff Ross did a couple roasts. He did one of prisoners and one of cops.
Yeah, I haven't seen those yet. I'm excited to see those.
They're really, really good. I was more impressed with the prison one. The cops they're both really my favorite part of they both had me crying for some reason. It's
Because you cry at everything.
yeah,
That's
maybe
why.
I'm part sissy, you know.
That's the reason. That's the
Yeah,
reason.
but there's also it's just so humanizing, and you know
Yeah.
the prison one in particular because I've done some chaplaincy work at Theo Lacey, which is the prison in Orange County in the juvenile hall there, and it just brought me back to those days of. It just humanizes them. It just it humanizes the people that, and you just realize, you know, they're just like you and I,
Yeah.
and it brings up all kinds of questions, and and he intersperses all these stats, you know, like during like the transitions of shots, he'll throw a stat up on, you know, like 1 out of every 3 people is in prison or something. It's great. We have more prisons in the country than schools or universities or something. And it was just like, what? It's just things like that just blow you away. And like, if you're, you know, like your percentage, if you've ever served any time in prison, you're going to come back, you know, it's like
Yeah, it's crazy. high.
crazy statistics. And so it's interesting that when he mixes the humor with reality, it just it's way funnier, you know, like, you know,
Yep.
He's one of the funniest guys alive just because he knows how to listen.
How to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, he knows how to listen and hear where people are. Anyway, so I loved watching him. I highly recommend him.
I would put a huge caveat on that and say the Rob Lowe roast is really hard to watch.
Yeah, I didn't actually enjoy that one.
That one was rough.
And it was crazy that the conservative lady, what?
Yeah.
Why was she even there?
She wanted to sell some books, man.
that was just, and I don't think
huge backfire.
yeah, it really was. Like, and it wasn't even funny. Like, I didn't find that one as funny. I was impressed with Jewel. I
thought that same thing.
I was like, I didn't know Jewel could be that funny, but
I was impressed, surprised at Jewel. Yeah.
everybody else, I think, in my opinion, tanked. Except, I mean, the Roastmaster, he did pretty, that wasn't even his best. I don't think.
No, I thought they were all okay. I didn't think anybody tanked, but
Yeah,
I think having the really conservative lady on there, Ann Coulter, was like, it was distracting. Like, it became a roast of Ann Coulter instead of Rob Lowe. And then they had the same joke about Rob Lowe every time, which was super offensive and not funny.
yeah.
And so that was like, that to me was disappointing. But when they roasted each other on the stage, like when they just go around and roast each other, I thought that was pretty good. They got some good Karate Kid jokes in.
Yeah.
So it was not their best one by any means, but there were some good spots, I thought.
I thought it was probably their worst one.
It might have been.
Yeah, because I think the bright spots were few and far between. Because I think Ralph kind of tanked. Ralph Macchio, you know, Karate Kid. I just felt bad for him. Like he was, he was stuck.
Yeah.
Anywho, but let's go on to your 3.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I felt the same way about that stuff.
But check out the prison one and the cop one.
I will do it for sure. All right. I'm gonna combine a couple here, kind of. It basically, doing college ministry the way we've done it for a long time, and seeing kids get older and grow up and become adults and have kids and all of that, like that whole piece is amazing, and it's hard to explain to people who aren't connected to people who are younger than them that way. But like, one of our students who now works with me, they just had a baby last week, and that's pretty awesome. What got me thinking about it though, and this is a way less highlight than the new baby for Sam Rigonini, but there's a guy we used to work with at Trinity named Bobby McKinney.
Yeah.
Are you friends with Bobby on Facebook?
No, but
So I went years without being friends with him on Facebook.
I think I am.
Yeah.
Friend.
Yeah. So, and I immediately Facebook popped up. You might know Bobby McKinney. I was like, I do know Bobby McKinney, and I was going to talk to Bianca anyway last week, so I kind of threw it up. And his profile picture is him doing like an American Ninja Warrior course, something like that. And I was like, there's no more predictable profile pic in the history of anybody I've ever known.
I
And that
love
Bobby
Bobby
McKinney might be doing an obstacle course as a 30-year-old. That's like, of course he is. Like that makes 100% total sense. And I don't know. There's something about the watching people become who God's made them to be, and figuring that out when they're in college. That for me is still sort of like the bread and butter of doing college ministry. So, Bobby McKinney's profile pic, Sam Rigonini having a kid. Drew Rigonini was a super cute baby, by the way, too. That one's crazy because not all babies are like gorgeous babies, but this kid's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know. So just big picture, thinking about college ministry stuff and some of the stuff I love about college ministry, and that was both of those coming up in the last couple of weeks. I'll put those together and just say I love the long view of ministry sometimes.
I do too. I was just because I'm looking for somebody to lead worship for the second service. So I did. Yeah. I did my old. I went over to Calvin College and just tried to recruit some kids. Did a raffle, just trying to get some emails and that kind of stuff. Just rubbing shoulders with some of those college kids and just thinking long view. What if one of these kids starts doing it? And I that's my favorite. That's the best part of college ministry. It's like, and I think the second is a very far second. Just seeing God mold people. Like just getting a front row view of the transformational power and the beauty of God shining through you to just even influence these kids just a little bit. That's cool. That's really good.
That's the best stuff. And then. And then we get weekends like this weekend coming up where Kyle and Kelsey get to come back to lead a retreat, and it's like, that's the best.
That guy, you gotta kiss him on the face for me.
I'm not gonna do that.
You got to.
I don't have to.
It's a law. I think it's a law in Texas.
Is it? I think the law goes exactly the opposite way.
Bobby McKinney, every single time, man. I think of that guy. I think of when he goes, "We need girls for the worship team." Like there's
that pause every time.
The pause got us, man.
I'll never forget every time I saw Bobby, he was in a tree. That dude just climbed trees. We got a frisbee stuck somewhere, and there went Bobby to get it. It was like, wow.
That kid's 100% heart, man.
He could just climb, man.
100% heart. That was crazy.
Awesome.
Anyway, yeah. Okay, my number 3. I put this thing down somewhere. Well, there it is. Diana Gordon. That's it.
I got nothing.
That's it. She's a singer, and she was on Stephen Colbert Late Night with Stephen Colbert. I don't even know what genre of music is. She's probably pop. I don't know, but don't mark that against her. I think we've had a long discussion about it. We shouldn't even make any more pop albums. But she's a musician. I being a music lover, it doesn't take much and it takes a lot. You know what I mean? I love it when a band, when the first time I see them, they break through that level to where you have to share them. You have to tell of them, you have to say, okay, I got to tell anybody that I know about this,
Yeah.
And she just came out she's an African-American lady, got this rock vibe, and the name of the song was Woman. And the lyric is, God gave you the answer when he gave you the woman. It's and she just owns it. Like she's got vocal pipes that blow your face off. My sister-in-law Jamie, who's been on the program,
Yeah, who's given us terrible recommendations, but keep going.
no, but I think she used to be a background singer for Beyonce. I think that's
Oh, really?
that's via Jamie. So
Your
I don't know how
sister-in-law used to be a
accurate-
background singer for Beyonce?
No, this Diana Gordon.
Yeah. That's
Anyway,
crazy.
Look it up on YouTube before you
gonna
go to
look it
sleep
up.
tonight.
This-
Diana Gordon.
Man, I
Before
know
you go to
right
sleep.
now we're not going to agree on this, but
No, you got to listen to it. And she starts with just simple, just her voice, and then the music comes in, and it builds, and then oh man, she owns it. She
All
does
right.
it. She does
Fair
a good
enough.
job. I first made my wife watch it, and then I made my 2 kids watch it, and then we were all dancing by the end of the time.
oh boy. All right.
Oh boy.
Hey, that reminded me of a joke I heard recently. I think you'll get a kick out of. No, it's
Hit me.
how do you tell the white person in how do you hold on. It's a racist joke, but it's against white people, so it's okay. How do you tell a white person at a concert?
How?
They're the ones who can sing without moving. That's me. I don't ever
That's
move
it.
when I listen to music. Yeah,
I should be able to cut my laugh off because that does deserve a laugh, but I still love you. I still love you.
All right,
All right.
I appreciate it. All right,
All right. Where's your 4?
my fourth one is a weird one, dude. So,
First, before you go on to your 4, have you heard anything that I need to hear about?
no, nothing.
Nothing?
All
right. Do you have any books?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
This is just because I have a little extra time with mine 4.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My
Okay,
four-
your four is
my
gonna be
four
pretty
was-
bad.
No, that was my 4, and it was just short.
It was short, but my 4 is gonna be really long
Okay.
and weird. So I think we'll be all right.
okay, go. Okay,
Yeah.
go.
I listen. You like female vocalists. I don't love female vocalists. That's how it goes. I'm sure this lady's great. I'm sure I'm not going to want to listen to her, but I will try. I'll give it a run, and then next week we'll talk about it.
I'll bet you something. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know what I can bet you, but I think I know you a little bit, and I think
Yeah, no, you do, and
you'll like the edge. I don't
The
know.
one- the one area we never totally are simpatico on is music. So, all right. So here's my number 4. Bear in mind, I was listening to a lot of Malcolm Gladwell. So
money.
yeah. So that revisionist history podcast is pretty solid. I got thinking about it, and I had this weird experience where I walked into the room, and my kids were watching a Disney kids show, and there's this one lady who said, she says, like, with all the crowd going crazy around her and stuff, I'm in a ball, and the follow-up conversation, the lady said, "You're in a mall," and she said, "No, I'm in a ball." And so it was like, ha ha ha, they misheard each other. But
Mhm.
that got me spiraling to
Oh gosh.
to why and how do we mishear each other? Which I don't know the answers to any of these things. I just think this would be a really good Malcolm Gladwell podcast. So I'm going to throw it out there for Malcolm Gladwell to gobble up if he wants. Because as somebody who preaches all the time and talks all the time, you're always sort of stunned by what people hear you say.
Yeah.
Because you know that you didn't say what they hear you say. So there's that part. But then, so there's miscommunication, but then there's just mishearing. And I'm sort of fascinated by, like that joke, I'm in a ball, oh, you're at the mall. That's not how we mishear most of the time, I don't think. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we mishear in different ways than that. So there's, anyway, the point of this one that's got my brain going is I'm curious, as somebody who speaks and writes, how people mishear or misunderstand. But I'm also, just as a regular communicator, a person who talks to kids, like I'm always sort of amazed by that. And then I want to tack on Parks and Rec, that Amy Poehler show.
Yeah, we've been rewatching.
Yeah, it's a good show.
It almost made my top 5 or best 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, there's a scene. One of my favorite scene in the whole series is after Ron Swanson can't get steak at the steak place he really wanted to get steak at in Indianapolis. he goes into this diner and he's talking to the guy, and they don't have
He just
steak.
watches.
Yeah. So they don't have steak. And
Give me
Ron Swanson,
yeah.
he says, give me all of the eggs and bacon you have. And the guy starts to leave, and he goes, well, hold on a second. Because what I think you heard me say was, give me a lot of eggs and bacon. What I said was, give me all the eggs and bacon that you have. And I don't know. All of that's bubbling in my brain around how we hear or what we hear and why, and miscommunication and hearing. That's all I got on it. I don't have anything I don't have any brilliant insight into it or whatever.
I'm not sure, but I'm about 80% sure that Ron Swanson scene is a nod to the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, it looks like it, right? The diner does.
Okay, and when what's his face, Jake says, "I'd like 4 fried chickens and a Coke," and Aretha Franklin says, "Do you want legs or wings with the chickens?" He says, "No, 4 fried chickens and a Coke." Yeah. Anyway, but
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Anywho, we just watched that episode. That's a really good one. I like that.
Really
I like your I like your point. That's a really interesting. You could write a dissertation about that. I don't know.
I couldn't, because I would get bored with it partway through. But
yeah,
as an idea, it's been something I've been paying attention to. That I'm kind of intrigued by. Yeah. You
could start probably several.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think you're right about that.
But it's weird how, and it's, I don't, because you would first, I think you would attack it. Do you mishear?
Right.
Or who's at fault? Because I think a lot of times I would think, being the communicator, and I would take the blame. It's weird because and usually in our case, we think it's the Holy Spirit. I think when I say something, and then someone comes up and says, "Oh, I heard you say this, and it changed my life," and I don't think I said that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh, okay, maybe that's the Spirit of God, speaking through me. And that's, I think, in the positive sense, Yeah.
But so here's another layer to it that that has been bothering me. And this question has sort of bothered me for a long time. When I was at the end of high school, beginning of college, I used to be a mobile DJ. So I'd go like weddings and stuff.
Yeah.
Set up speakers and play music. And when you're doing that training, they teach you to hear your own voice on the microphone, because a lot of people don't like to hear their own voice. And apparently your body is designed for you not to hear your voice the way other people hear it. The way your vocal cords resonate with your own ears or whatever. I don't totally understand this part, but what made me think of it is, how does anybody ever impersonate somebody else?
Yeah.
Because if you can't, if you don't know how you sound, how do you make yourself sound like you think someone else sounds? And then on top of that, how much variance is there between how we hear other people? Right? So you and I can both see the color blue, but we're not seeing the same color blue, right? We're seeing something within a spectrum of the color blue.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing works for sound, but I'm not positive. Anyway, I think there's a ton there to play with, but I haven't really played with it all the way yet. It's just,
it might be my dad has done it, because that's how he started in the Air Force. Is he was studying the effects of sound waves.
Oh yeah.
On the environment. Because this is back when certain frequencies were government owned.
Right.
And so the cell phone companies had to fight the government to get some of these bandwidths, whatever.
Yeah.
So I wonder, I don't know, might be fun to ask him. I'll write that down next time.
That's a really interesting one too, right? All the the radio stations, all the radio stations in your town are going right now in your house and around you in the air.
Yeah.
But you can't pick them up without a device, right? But they're still making noise.
Yeah.
Right. They're still broadcasting and they still exist. It's weird, mind-boggling kind of stuff to me. But
yeah.
Anyway,
and then,
I just want to put it on here so that when Malcolm Gladwell listens to our podcast, he'll be like, "Oh, that's a great idea. I'll do that next time." That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want somebody smarter than me writing a really interesting article about this. That's all.
I think I've already told you a story. My friend Adam Hurlson would introduce himself as Larry Laserbeam.
Yes, that's a perfect intro to this podcast.
Larry Laserbeam. Laserbeam? No. Laser Dean. It still gets me. That was like
Yeah, that's a
20
funny
years
joke.
ago. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
That's a great joke.
And I think he got it from a band member of a Orange County band called Fairview or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the end of the story.
And it feels like Fletch kind of too, right? Like
It does.
I'm Dr. Rosen. It just lets the people fill in the joke, right? And but that's like, so when we read, we do that, right? This is why we misread sometimes, is because we fill in the end of words without actually looking at them. And so I think that's how we mishear too. Somebody starts a sound that we know how that sound's going to finish, and then when it doesn't finish that way, right? But even good listeners mishear. That's the part that's strange to me. But anyway, that's a weird one. Nothing you really have to interact with. Just kind of a strange. I told you it was strange when I started that one, but
but right before you ended, I wanted. Do you remember Brandon Manning? Have you
yeah.
We've talked about him, but he spent like 6 months alone in a cave in Europe. As part of his priestly, he was part of this order or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Because what made me think of that is he's probably the best listener I've ever met, and he's one of the best communicators I've ever met. And I think you got your finger on why, is because he spent a lot of time in solitude. I think solitude actually helps us communicate.
That's interesting.
I
sort of a paradox, right? Like you wouldn't guess that up front. But the other thing it makes you wonder then too is we just don't have silence in our life.
Yeah, I think
at all.
I think mishearing might escalate.
Yeah. See, now we got an interesting one, Jay.
Yeah, Malcolm, come on in, buddy.
Jump in anytime, bro.
The water's
welcome here, Malcolm. You're welcome here.
Okay, I think let's go on to my 5, and it's going to be quick and simple, but I absolutely adore Bianca. She was just visiting, and I think we mentioned before that we recorded 9 minutes, with just her, and then the power went out, and that busted up my whole day, but it didn't overshadow the time of just, there's something about friendships made at crucial periods in your time, in your life. And the Jason that Bianca knows is my favorite Jason. That's my, she knows things about me and I love it. I love that she's just a friend to the family. My wife and I both love the heck out of her. And it's funny because she's more like me than, Malia's friendship with Bianca is really interesting to me, just because she loves Bianca for almost some of the same reasons that she likes me, like they complement each other well. So it's just really fun. We're all three together. And then she loves my kids like crazy. I just love how she loves my kids. I love that she taught our families cascarones, and it was just fun to have her around. And we went to a Tigers game, and just her eyes, because she's trying to see all the baseball fields in America, like she's trying to visit all the parks. And she just pointed out, like Tiger Stadium has tigers like everywhere. And I don't know if I would have even noticed. I would have noticed that there's a lot of tigers around here, but she was just like, because she's seen all the other parks. She's just like, this isn't normal to go this tiger, this mascot crazy. Anyway, so our family's better having Bianca as a friend, and the same would go as the Richards family, there's just those core friends that come and visit, and that we go and visit, they just make life way, way sweeter.
Well said, man. That's 100% true. And Bianca's the best. There's no question about that. We had her on the podcast, but the power went out, so we lost her. But we are thinking that we're going to bring her back in the future. She's agreed to do it. One of the hard parts is the timing of it, getting the schedule figured out. I want to have her back to host, Jason. What do you think of that?
I'm in.
She can kind of guide us and yell at us when we mess things up or whatever. But
Yeah.
that she likes to do that, so I think it's
Yeah.
good. It's a natural fit.
Maybe
And she
could
lives
make-
in like the most beautiful place in the world, just about, right? That's the other.
Yeah, and maybe she could go back and make us. Maybe her and the girls could make us brownies.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Do you remember that Justin guy? Oh, that was that's the funniest joke. If
Oh, man.
like the 3 or 4 people that get it, it's the funniest joke.
Oh man. We'll have to have her on to explain that one to
Yeah.
our rapidly growing audience.
All right, you give me your 5. Give me your 5.
All right, my 5th one is I gave out a chapter to my staff to read on baptism from John Howard Yoder, and it was a chapter I had not read in years. And I went back and read the chapter, and it was like, oh no, like Yoder's just spitting fire everywhere. I wanted to ease into that, and Yoder's like, no, we're just gonna dive into how you don't trust your baptism. You're too American. Most of our views on baptism are too Catholic or too reformational. Like they don't follow the New Testament. He went off on original sin. He went off on sacraments. Like he just went crazy. Like, oh, I probably should have gave him a little notice on this one, but I did not. Here's a couple of tastes for you. This is from Yoder's book called Body Politics: 5 Practices of the Christian Community Before the Watching World.
Mm.
If reconciliation between peoples and cultures is not happening, the gospel's truth is not being confirmed in that place. So that's a good quote. And then the original Christian equality message, to sum up, was rooted in the work of Christ, not in creation or providence. Those are kind of the 2 prongs he says we usually make a mistake about, right? Like that. And our impulse is that we're all equal, we're all children of God, and that's either because God created us that way or because he's providentially moving in the world. It was integrally part of the very definition of the meaning of the cross, not merely a derivative from or an implication of the Christian's change of heart or mind. It was visible in the concrete bodily form of people who changed their dietary patterns so they could eat with each other. That vision was soon lost in the Greek and Romanization of the churches, went so far, in some places by the middle or 2nd century, to abandon the open interface with Judaism and to accept the beginnings of Christian anti-Judaism. This is the last quote here. From then on, the only unity message is the weak kind of equal but separate statement, which does not demand eating at one table and does not condemn empire or patriarchy. Yeah, so he it's for him, baptism is what makes us equal before God. But it's this reconciling, tearing down thing that happens in baptism, and it's just really hard to argue that he's wrong about that.
Yeah.
The other stuff, like I grew up in other contexts, and I work in other contexts, and I get a different theology of baptism. But man, it's the stuff with Yoder you always run into of first off, I always feel bad when I read Yoder because it's like, well, I have not stayed true to that very long.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm way more of I concede that stuff way too easily, I think.
Yeah.
But I also, when I read them, I'm just taken aback by like, there's a very straightforward, simple way to hear some of these things in Scripture. And we've done a lot of work over 2,000 years to make sure that we don't hear that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's tough. Like that one always sort of jumps out and grabs me and I'm like, ugh. But anyway, it was fun to give away a chapter and then to realize partway through that I was going to have a lot of conversations off of this chapter.
Yeah. That's funny. That's good. Tangent.
Yeah.
Off of his like little subtitle of Before a Watching World. I just started to think, I don't think the world's watching anymore.
Yeah.
And then I started to think, because I'm leading, like I think I mentioned last time, I'm leading all my committees and teams through in the name of Jesus. And his argument is that, the way to ministry is not spectacular,
right?
But it's simple obedience, And but what if simple obedience just means following a path off into obscurity? And what if, in Yoder's terms, what if the world just stops watching, which it has, I think.
Yeah.
Like, what are we to do? You know, like,
Yeah. Well, I think Yoder's what he's trying to get at in this is essentially there's an old saying that Hauer says all the time, but it's a shorthand for Yoder, which is that the church does not have an ethic for social engagement. The church is social engagement. Like it's the who the church is like Yoder's point here is we have 5 practices that the church ought to be doing anyway. Like this is the core of what it means to be the church. And we do those because when the world does watch, they recognize Jesus in it.
Yeah.
If they don't watch, we're still called to do them. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we're still called to be these kinds of people. And like the 5 are really interesting. But the baptism one in particular jumped out to me this time because one of the things we're talking a lot about is baptism and Christian identity and what does it mean? What does it mean to be Christian when we say we're Christian? What are we talking about exactly? What does it mean to be a follower of Jesus? And so that was a good chapter to read, and we're going to talk about some other stuff as a staff today around baptism. But I intentionally picked like the Archbishop of Canterbury and then like this Greek Orthodox guy, and I threw in Yoder, and Yoder is just like different level. He's just throwing fire everywhere. Like he doesn't care.
I love it.
Me too.
And I what you just said, it sheds a lot of light. It doesn't matter if they're watching or not watching.
Yeah.
It matters obedience.
Right.
But it's rattling around in my brain, you know.
But it's not the wrong question to ask because it is because we do need to ask that question.
Because the temptation is to get people's eyes back on us, you know, and to be spectacular, to blow something up or and it's rough because when the eyes aren't on us, and we're not doing spectacular, the temptation to feel irrelevant, I think it's only going to rise.
Yes. Yeah, and there's been some really interesting articles in the last little bit that I've been reading from different guys on. There is something about kind of this heroic pastor idea, right? And it's that it's our job, and not only is it our job, but we're gonna, we long for the days when pastors were well respected in their communities, and when people weren't afraid of pastors and things like. There's all these weird kind of things caught up in that, right? And the irrelevancy of it, like there's almost no greater sin in our current culture than being irrelevant. Yeah, like that's something we need to fight, I think.
I do too.
I don't know how exactly, because I have this. I'm as tempted to it as anybody, but we record a podcast every week. So.
I guess we could do Telegram.
Yeah, then nobody would know about it. I'll get a really hard flying pigeon.
But yeah, it's interesting because one of my favorite magazines is Relevant.
Yeah,
and and I have this inner dialogue with. I think we are called, and I think what's his face touches on this a lot, and now on touches this a lot. Like we're called to be irrelevant. We're called to be, and your Hauerwas guys would say countercultural, and not using the same spectrum to look at.
That's the point, right? It's that it's we don't give up the definitions or the way of being known to the world, right? We just refuse to be measured on that system. It doesn't mean we're not being measured on it, and it doesn't mean the world's not watching and laughing at us. But it doesn't. That part doesn't matter. Yeah. All right, brother. All right.
That was really good. I like talking with you. I missed it.
Oh man, so much fun.
Yeah, and
I'm glad we're back at it.
Me too. I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, brother. Talk to you later.
Love you, buddy.
Bye.